Admiral Zethkar of the Hegemony Fleet had seen many species rise and fall across the galaxy's spiral arms. The crystalline Vorthak with their living ships, the gaseous Nebulans who traveled through space itself, the cybernetic Nexari with their perfect calculations, all had eventually bowed to the Hegemony's superior numbers and ancient technology. But as he stared at the tactical display before him, watching impossible energy signatures streak across the void, he realized he was witnessing something entirely unprecedented. "Admiral," his tactical officer's voice trembled through the bridge's neural link. "The human vessels are accelerating beyond all known physical parameters. They're approaching significant fractions of light speed." Zethkar's crystalline carapace darkened with disbelief. "Impossible. No species harnesses enough energy for sustained acceleration at those velocities. Our projections show they should have exhausted their fusion reserves hours." Ego. The humans had appeared in galactic politics mere decades ago, a species so young they still used chemical rockets when the Hegemony first catalogued them. Their homeworld, a modest blue marble in an unremarkable system, had seemed destined for eventual absorption like countless others. The Hegemony's standard protocol was simple: observe primitive species, allow them to develop basic spaceflight, then offer protection in exchange for resources and servitude. But humanity had defied every projection. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching the Hegemony fleet formations scatter before her task force like startled fish. The antimatter containment systems hummed with barely restrained power, each magnetic bottle holding enough energy to vaporize entire moons. What had taken the galaxy's older civilizations millennia to achieve through gradual technological evolution, humanity had accomplished through sheer audacity and a willingness to dance with annihilation. "Ma'am, we're receiving surrender requests from 14 Hegemony vessels," her communications officer reported. "They're asking how we're maintaining these energy outputs." Elena smiled grimly. The galaxy's established powers had grown complacent, content with their fusion drives and zero-point energy taps. They harvested energy efficiently, safely, sustainably, but humans had looked at the universe's most fundamental force, the complete conversion of matter to energy, and decided to cage lightning itself. The breakthrough had come from Dr. Sarah Chen's team on Luna Station, where other species saw antimatter as a laboratory curiosity, too dangerous for practical application. Humans saw the ultimate fuel. While the Hegemony's ships sipped energy like refined aristocrats, human vessels gorged themselves on barely controlled annihilation reactions. "Containment fields holding steady at 99.7% efficiency," the chief engineer called out. "We can maintain this acceleration for another 6 hours before requiring a cooldown cycle." 6 hours. The Hegemony's most advanced dreadnoughts could sustain maximum thrust for perhaps 30 minutes, before their fusion cores required cycling. Elena's task force had been accelerating continuously for 2 days, treating the fabric of space-time like their personal highway. On the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Zethkar's strategic AI was running increasingly desperate calculations. The humans' apparent disregard for basic safety protocols was yielding impossible tactical advantages. Their antimatter drives didn't just provide power, they provided so much power that human vessels could maintain maximum thrust while simultaneously charging weapons, running full defensive screens, and powering exotic systems that shouldn't exist on ships that size. "Admiral," his science officer reported, "our long-range sensors are detecting antimatter signatures from 17 different human systems. They've industrialized antimatter production on a scale we deemed theoretically impossible." The revelation struck like a physical blow. The Hegemony had spent 10,000 years perfecting matter-antimatter containment, achieving laboratory yields measured in grams. Humans had apparently looked at those careful, methodical approaches and decided to scale up by 6 orders of magnitude. Elena watched her tactical display as more Hegemony formations broke and scattered. The psychological impact was as devastating as the tactical one. For millennia, the galaxy's powers had operated under understood rules. Energy was precious, acceleration was limited, and warfare was a careful dance of resource management. Humans had torn up that rulebook and written their own in pure annihilation. The UES Prometheus's sister ship, the Icarus, was already decelerating toward the Hegemony's primary staging area. Its antimatter torch drive painted a brilliant star across the void, visible to naked eyes on planets dozens of light years away. The message was unmistakable. Humanity didn't just have antimatter drives. They had so much surplus energy they could afford to be theatrical about it. Admiral Zethkar made the hardest decision of his career. Signal all fleets, full withdrawal to the outer territories. Reclassify human space as Category 0. No engagement without full Council authorization. As the Hegemony fleet jumped to hyperspace in full retreat, Captain Vasquez allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The galaxy had operated for eons under the assumption that energy scarcity imposed natural limits on warfare and expansion. Humans had simply refused to accept those limits. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the comm from the engine room. "Captain, we're reading some interesting quantum fluctuations in the local spacetime metric. I think our drives are having secondary effects we didn't anticipate." Elena grinned. "Good effects or bad effects, Doctor?" "Unknown effects, ma'am. Which, knowing us, probably means we'll find a way to weaponize them by next Tuesday." Across the galaxy, ancient civilizations scrambled to understand what they were truly facing. The humans hadn't just developed antimatter drives. They had fundamentally altered the strategic balance of galactic civilization. They had proven that sometimes, the youngest species possessed the most dangerous advantage of all: the audacity to attempt the impossible and the recklessness to succeed. The galaxy would never be the same.